I am thrilled that you tuned in to this video. Welcome. My name is Ria. I'm going to guide you through a cross yoga flow class today. Cross yoga is Christ-centered yoga for everybody. So having a huge faith, a small faith, no matter what, you are welcome. There's lots of things to gain from this video. Flow yoga is a movement style where we sometimes move with our breath. So if you're completely new to yoga, you might choose what is called slow yoga because that is more helpful for you to get to know the postures a little bit. But if you're ready and you have a block, actually bring that along and take a seat on your mat. So I place my buttocks on the block because it's better for my thighs and my knees to sit here for a bit. So you're welcome to do that as well. I'm gonna sit and breathe, and I'll read a small passage from the Bible. And if you notice that you can't sit like this with a tall spine, maybe sitting in a chair with a bit of support in your back is also a great thing. And then you can move down on the mat after the first bit of breathing and reading. All right. So find that comfortable seat wherever it is and close your eyes. Notice the buttocks on the block or the mat or the chair. Relaxing thighs. And take some deep breaths, if you can, through your nose. I love really exaggerating my breath as I begin, because it's nice to feel how much air I can actually get into those lungs. And then afterwards, it feels more comfortable to breathe deeply. And in a more relaxed manner. So just take a few more deep breaths before I'll guide us into some surrendering or letting go and some receiving. We all know that life can be hard and things happen. Things are out of our control. And sometimes we need to let go of all that we want to control, all that we worry about. So let's try to do that now. So you can put your hands like a ball here, like this. And maybe take your head a little bit down for that surrendering posture with your whole body. And then into these hands, and maybe into God's hands, surrender what is taking your focus away from love, from what you know is right, from your faith. And maybe even sigh out in order to let go. Knowing that God cares. That God is in control even when you're not. And if you're ready, you might be seated here for a little bit longer. Take your arms out to the side and maybe have your nose pointed up, still eyes closed. And then receive. Receive God's forgiveness, God's love. Receive God's smiling face towards you. Receive God's healing. God's peace. Inhale deeply, like you're inhaling all these things and holding it a little bit as you hold your breath. And then let go. And maybe you bring your hands down. Now you can either sit and move a little bit, or just sit still and breathe as I read a passage that might be familiar to some. It's from Matthew 14, about Jesus and Peter and the boat and stuff. But I'll read from verse 23. So after Jesus, he dismissed them, the crowds that Jesus was talking to. He went up on the mountainside by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. But the boat was already considerably distant from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. So those in the boat was Jesus' friends, also called the disciples. So Jesus has kind of sent them off, and Jesus went up to this mountain to pray by himself. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter replied, "tell me to come out on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" I'll come back to the passage, but just picturing the disciples there in the boat, picturing especially Peter. When I read this, preparing this class, I was stroked by his madness. Why in the whole world did Peter want to go out to Jesus on the water? Why did he want to? Why did he suggest that? I have no idea. But sometimes we do things that are crazy. We ask for things that are crazy. And what really spoke to me was that, it's so freeing that I can ask Jesus for anything, even walking on water like Peter did here. And Jesus doesn't think it's too crazy. Come into tabletop, and you can just put your block here somewhere by the side and move in tabletop. As always, you can spread out your fingers, making sure your knuckles are down, and you may even take your wrists for a spin here. And you can take your hands further to the front and find down dog. Keep moving your legs to get that dynamic sensation into the body.
warming up. Step your feet to the top end of the mat and fold forward. Gonna start in chair pose, so sit down in your chair with your arms here to the front. Almost like sitting in the boat, maybe, without rocking though. Then standing up tall. Take your hands behind your head for support of the back of the head as you lean back gently, micro bending your knees. And taking your arms up overhead, stretching. Maybe a little bit from left to right side. It's just gonna be done once. And soften your knees and fold forward. Take your right leg, step it back. And this is where you might want to use your block. We're going to do white pyramid, so you can take that block underneath your right hand, maybe. If you have two blocks, use for both hands. But if the floor is far away, just one hand down might be enough. So you can kind of pull your hip forth and back here, going from lunge, legs, and back. Opening up your hip. Then twisting. So your left leg is in front, left arm reaches up. Again, you can still use the block under your right hand. And draw a big circle behind you, reaching back. Gaze to the front, open up the back of the foot there, pivot it around, warrior two. So again, take the front knee over the ankle, align the arms with the floor with a bit of a soft sensation in your shoulders and your elbows and wrists. Then leaning forward for a side stretch, elbow here down on the thigh without really hanging out, making sure the core is tight. Stretching from the back of the leg all the way to the fingertips. Windmill this arm that's on top all the way back and then to the front as you turn your shoulders again. Move the block, take the back heel off, step back, plank. Finding that plank, softening your knees. And then maybe on your knees, lower down. I like this the first couple of times to warm up the tricep, the shoulders. Cobra. Tuck the toes under if you haven't already. Downward facing dog. One more breath in down dog. Standing still maybe. Then again to the top of the mat. Folding forward. Make sure you have some distance in between your feet. Typically 2 fists in between your feet. At least that's how I like to stand firm here. Coming up into mountain pose, hands behind your head. Reaching your elbows apart, stretching a bit of the shoulder, the chest. Reach up and fold forward. Maybe grabbing the block, step your left leg back. Left hand on the block, and as we did before, either coming up, moving with the block like this. Or maybe just take both hands down, with or without the block. Now I know the story for some of you that might have heard this story before is all about stepping out of the boat. And maybe you're reminded of something that you need to step out into. But actually that's not going to be my main focus for the story today. Twisting. Right foot at the front, right hand towards the sky. Shoulder turn your back hand to the back and then to the front. Maybe take your hands down as you turn the back foot. Heels aligned. Warrior two. Feel that maybe slight or maybe a lot of stretching on the inside of the thigh. The strength in the front leg. Lean forward, resting the arm on the thigh. And see if you can kind of push a button a little bit further away from this stretch on the side body towards the sky. Then arm again back, hands down, back heel off, step back, plank. Maybe on your knees, lower down, elbows by your ribs as much as possible. Cobra, or maybe you want to go for your up dog where your hip is off. Shoulders are back though. Tuck the toes under, down dog. We'll repeat this one. To the front, fold forward. Chair pose, you might inhale. And exhale here. Inhale, reach up, hands behind your head, lean back, exhale. Straighten your spine, inhale. Folding forward, exhaling. Right leg up, inhale. And lowering it down. Heel off. Inhale as you bring yourself back, stretch the front leg with or without block. Exhale, again lunge with hands down. Inhale, left arm up. Exhale, that big circle with the shoulder. Preparing warrior two as you inhale, rising up, back foot turned. Exhale, warrior two. Side ankle, inhale, preparing. Exhaling, really opening up, stacking the shoulders. Inhaling, getting into your plank. And maybe on your exhale, lower down. Inhaling, cobra or up dog. Down dog, exhale. Take one breath here. And please just follow my cueing with the breath if it makes sense in your body. It might not. To the front, inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Chair. Stay put on your exhale. Inhaling, high mountain. Back bending, support your head, exhale. Reaching up, inhale. Forward fold, exhale. Left leg, reach it up. Tuck the toes, lower down, exhale. Preparing your wide pyramid as you inhale. And exhale, lean forward. Inhale, coming to the front. Finding your lunge with hands down. Right hand up, inhaling. And circle, exhale. Turn the back foot, warrior two as you inhale, getting yourself into this posture. Exhaling, really lowering down. Side ankle, inhaling. Reaching further for your exhale. Plank. Preparing, inhale. Exhale, lower down. Cobra up dog, inhale. Exhale, down dog. Again, take one breath. Make sure you bend your knees if that's possible, or if you need to, you want a straight spine. To the front, inhale. Fold forward. Chair pose again. Just one more time through. Soften and breathe as deeply as you can. Now you know this one. Reach your hands up. So whatever feels natural to exhale, you can always sigh out. Reach your hands up. And fold down. Right leg up. Exhale, step it back, speeding things up a little bit. So this time we're just going to inhale as you lean back in that wide pyramid. Exhale, bending the front leg again. Left arm up, inhale. Pivot it back. Warrior two, one huge continuous move here. Side ankle. Finding plank. Slow, steady breath. Lower down. Cobra up dog. And your down dog. And don't worry if you're too fast or too slow. We'll wait for you here one breath. So on your next inhale to the front. Fold forward. Reach into chair. And then mountain. Open up. Take your hands up overhead and then fold forward again. Left leg up and back. Slowing down all the moves here. Inhale as you do that wide pyramid. Bending the front leg again, exhale. Twisting right hand up. Turn the hand back to the front. Turn the back foot, warrior two. Almost like a slow dance here. Side ankle. And instead of going directly down into our chaturanga, we're just going to turn the front foot and then align the feet and go into a wide-legged forward fold. You can either stand still or dance a little bit from left to right. Let go of your neck. And then walk your hands to the top end of the mat again, where you were just a few seconds ago. Let's take the back foot and bring it to the front. Fold forward. And then rise into mountain pose, having a bit of a pause here, a break. So palms facing forward, standing tall. Jesus at some point says, "You of little faith," to Peter. And you can easily hear that as Jesus kind of telling Peter off, or telling us off that, have just a little bit of faith, like that kind of voice and tone of voice. But what if Jesus actually said it in another way? Maybe he just said, just a little bit of faith, that's enough. I mean, that little bit of faith that Peter actually had, that made him walk on water. So maybe Jesus is just pointing out that little faith, like the ones that you and I might have. Faith full of doubt, faith full of questioning, faith full of disappointment. That is enough. Did you hear that? That little faith that you have, that is enough. And if that spoke to you, you might be standing still for a little bit longer, or pause the video if you need to. Stay with that. If you're ready to move on, palms together in front of your chest. And as we take our hands up overhead, let go of the left leg. Here we're going to take a side stretch. So you take the left leg behind you, reach the arms up overhead like an antenna, and then go to your right side for a bit of a side stretch. Top arm, move it slightly back. Coming back to center. Taking your hands down, taking the left leg back, thumb pointing back. Grab the arch of the foot. Prepare yourself to move into dancer, or a version of it at least. So kick your foot into your hand. Keep that breath going steady. And then release the foot, lowering down, left foot at the back of the mat, warrior one. So you take the back foot a little bit out to the side, bending the front leg, stacking it over the ankle, and reach your arms up overhead. We want to keep the left pelvis or the left hip a little bit turned to the front.
humble warrior. So either take a hold of the back of your arm there, or grasp the hands, shoulders squeezed back, lean forward to the inside of the leg. And keep the breath going for 2 more times. Let go of the hands, reach them to the front. You might grab your block wherever it is. Take it in between your hands. Turn the back foot around. This time align it with the short end of the mat, warrior 2. Reach the arms up overhead and kind of push into the block for arm engagement. Take the block to the front hand, there, your right hand, and you can place it maybe just here. We're going to go into half moon. So take the back foot just a little bit closer and bring the left back foot up towards the sky. Keep the toes pointing out like they were in your warrior 2. And you might be able to hold the balance enough to reach up your left hand as well. So all of left side. I want to keep my hand on the block just for a bit of a change. Also, if you're used to working, doing this without block, try to do it with a block. And then lowering down both hands, close the hip, get into the top of the mat, some distance in between your feet, fold forward. And maybe you sigh out. Coming into mountain again, prayer posture with your hands, repeating this sequence on the other side. Right foot crosses behind you, arms up overhead, and then lean to your left side. Push your hip towards your right side as your arms go to your left. Coming back to center, letting go, dancer. So right thumb pointing back, arch of the foot, gaze on the floor, leaning forward and bringing the leg, the knee behind you, not out to the side if possible. There's nothing you need to prove here. As you need only a little faith, you just need a little bit of a back bend here if possible. Let go of the foot, getting it to the back of the mat. Might shorten the distance a little bit if it's too much of a stretch in the lower foot there. Pivot left hip to the front, warrior 1. Grasp the hands as we did before, the arm, shoulders back. And as we lean forward, we don't want to kick the shoulders up. We want to kick them back and engage the back of the shoulders. Rhomboids and trapezius and everything there. Let go of the hands, and again, take a hold of the block as we make our way into warrior 2. So get the heels aligned. They were not that before. Reach your arms up overhead with a small bend in the elbows and push in on the block. So you might even push on the block that much that your arms are kind of shaking a little bit. That's fine. And then our half moon. So use the block if you have it, just for a bit of a different posture and alignment if you're used to doing this without a block. This time, right leg comes up and keep both hands on the floor if that's better for you. Or kick the right hand up, stacking shoulders, stacking your hip. And one more big breath.
Letting go, hands down. Step back this time. Downward facing dog. And then child's pose. Just a few stretches and then we're done for today. Heel and hip somewhat closed here. So we don't need huge faiths, but we need to stay focused. The story tells us that Peter was walking on the water, and then all of a sudden his gaze went from Jesus to his surroundings, and he got scared. So having a little faith might just mean that you hang on to Jesus, that you want to try to believe, and you have a hard time believing, but you keep your eyes on Jesus. You keep your heart open to faith. Keep battling with those questions and with those feelings. And Jesus will reach out his hand, as he did to Peter, and lift you up. Pigeon pose. Either on your back, reversed pigeon, or bring that right leg to the front. If you're super mobile in your hip, you might bring the shin to the short end of the mat. I'm not, so I'll bend my knee a little bit more. Keep my toes pointed for the sake of the knee. Either stay here on your hands, use a block if you like, or coming down. A bit of a resting pigeon pose. So maybe you picture yourself being Peter. Maybe you just got your feet wet. It's not that huge of a trouble or a problem you're in. Maybe you're halfway into the water. And maybe you're like completely with your head down and your arms are just grasping over the water you are under. But Jesus reaches out his hand. He will not let you drown. Come onto your hands. We're going to do the opposite side. I like my down dog after this stretch. Opposite. And again, come down on your back in a reversed version of this. Relax your hip down. And maybe what I've said brings a lot of questions and prayers and longings to the surface. But maybe what you need right now is not to think that you pray or do a lot of that. Maybe it's just to picture yourself reaching out, seeing the Jesus' hands holding onto yours, not letting you go. Coming out of this posture, you might just move onto your left hip and then take your feet to the top of the mat. Gonna use the block for a supported back bend. If you don't have a block, maybe just use your hands if that feels okay for your body. Use the height of the block that makes the most sense in your body. We're going to take the block underneath the sacrum. So not the lowest tailbone, but a little bit over here, maybe when you can see it on my body. And rest your arms as in resting posture. You can keep your knees bended or even stretch them a little bit out. Of course, the more you stretch them out, the more of a back bend with the gravity involved you will gain. I'm not going to stay here for that long, so find something that makes sense in your body. Then slowly move your feet closer to your hip. So you can lift your hip and remove the block. And I'll invite you, as you might be having a block, you can even use a pillow here if you don't have a block. You're going to rest down on it. So you're going to bring the block in between the shoulder blades somewhere here. Please don't go too high, but somewhere down here. So you bring the block down. And then after putting it down, you kind of make your way, if possible, down here, and then just move the block so it makes sense. Now we're gonna rest here for just a few minutes, and if it somehow doesn't feel good, maybe just use it for 30 seconds and then roll onto your side and let go. But something like this you can even use if you have a second block. I'm gonna use my Bible somehow. That's a little bit symbolic, right? To use the big Bible here under the head for support. And then try to rest, opening up the shoulders. And maybe those words Jesus speaks as he sees his friends on the boat get completely scared. He says, "It is I. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid." Where do you need to hear those words today? I'm gonna finish this class. If you're still resting on the block, you can move your ankles and wrists, and then eventually come out on the side. Move the block to the side and might hug in your knees for a bit of a nice stretch in the back and the shoulders. And then come into a seat on the mat. And I'll just finish off our time with a prayer. Again, you can listen to it. You can pray with me with whatever faith you have, right? So God, Jesus, thank you for reaching out. And thank you that little faiths are enough. You don't blame us for not trusting you enough, for not doing enough. You meet us exactly where we are. And God, help us to keep the focus.
Help us to trust that you are holding on and never let go. Amen. From my heart to yours, thank you so much for joining. And I pray that this class blessed you. Let me know if it did.